Wisconsin I is interviewing candidates in the special election in the 42nd Assembly District. The primary election is May 15th. The general election is June 12th. Darren Schroeder of Columbus is a Republican running in that special election. Mr. Schroeder, welcome to Wisconsin I.
Thank you for having me.
You say on your webpage that you want to represent farmers and small businesses. What are the biggest needs of both of those, sir?
I would say right now in the state is infrastructure. Our road infrastructure has really had some challenges due to budgets over the last few years.
Okay. How would you pay for the state's highways in the future?
I think we're probably going to have to find some types of new revenue, exactly how we do that, or probably, in my opinion, more reallocation of where the money's going.
Okay. Would you support either the gas tax or the vehicle registration fee or tolling? What's your position on those?
I think all of them are open, but I think if you look at some of the types of tolling, I think that maybe outside states, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to figure out some way to not have to have the state residents pay, but the traffic coming across the borders, because I'm sure a lot of them don't buy their gasoline here.
Mm-hmm. Now, give us a little bit about your background and why you're qualified to represent the 42nd.
I've dairy farmed for 23 years. I sold my cows in 2001, went into a partnership with my brother. We cash grain farm. I've done that up until currently, still doing that. I've been on the town board as a supervisor for 4 years. I've been the town chairman for 1 year, and we have very good roads in our township, not just from me, but from the previous boards, just spending money and maintaining. Okay. I've been planning commissioner for 15 years.
You know, some candidates say that local control is being taken away by officials in the Capitol. Do you think, as a local official, that you're losing some local controls?
A little. Mostly it's in funding.
Funding.
But I'm pretty active in the Wisconsin Towns Association meetings, and that's the state's kind of on a push to take a little more control of our local roads, and nobody knows our local infrastructure like we do.
Right. Let's talk about the Foxconn deal. Had you been in the legislature, would you voted for $2.85 billion in incentives to that company, sir?
I think I would have had to look long and hard at that one, just mainly because of the big project in one place. Mm-hmm. I'm on the Columbia County Economic Development Corporation board, yes. And they certainly could have split those dollars up to different areas. That's my belief. But I don't know the ins and outs of, all of it. I wasn't there.
Okay, but
it's hard to second guess. I think it's a good opportunity, but it's, not to use an ag term, but it's a lot of eggs in one basket.
Okay.
If it turns out, it's going to be fantastic, but it's a lot of money.
But you're not sure you could have voted for it? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I would say that's a fair summary.
The discussion over school safety and changes to gun laws. How can we make our schools safe? Question one, do we need to change any gun laws, Mr. Schroeder?
I think background checks certainly can be re-examined. I mean, and in the cases of, some of the shootings that have happened, the mental illness side of it, maybe we got to re-examine. Banning guns, no. Do we need combat weapons? No.
Okay.
But I think that people hunt, and I think people have the right to have their guns.
What about raising the age to buy a gun, which Florida did?
I would stay with the 18. I don't.
Stay with the 18.
They're adults at 18. They can go to jail at 18, and they're responsible for themselves. I don't think 3 years is going to make any difference.
Some legislators say Wisconsin should ban what's been called assault weapons. Do you have a position on that?
I would agree with that. I find no reason why we need combat-style weapons. Okay. That doesn't make any sense.
Let's talk about funding of K-12 schools. Is the state putting enough money into our public schools? Do you think we need a new school aid formula? Do we need a lot more money into our public schools?
I think we got to look at it. I know from our schools in Columbus, they're having a tough time, just in maintenance, and it's kind of like the road infrastructure thing. We've got to kind of get a balance to it.
Okay. What about the school choice program? That choice and voucher program that lets students go to private schools and they get their expenses are paid by the state. Do you support that?
I don't. I guess it depends on the school. I can understand going from one public school to another if it's more convenient. Maybe they have a curriculum that you want. But for sending kids with vouchers to a private school, if it's a for-profit school, I definitely don't support that.
You don't support that. We've had a UW system tuition freeze on resident undergraduate students for 6 years. Do you think it should continue?
I guess I would support that. I definitely would look at it. I do think that the university has a lot more resources than the public school system. So, you know, through their foundation, I was involved in Wisconsin Rural Leadership Program, which is now Leadership Wisconsin. And I ended up on the alumni board, and then I ended up on the regular board, which is an extension program, and I ended up being the chairman of the fundraising committee. And the university has other resources.
They do, okay. Now, with your background as a farmer and a small businessman, do you support any changes in health care? Because I know that's an issue for farmers and small business.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge cost, but it's a national issue as well as a state and local issue. I really think as far as the more in the lines of like the Badger cares, I think people that are underprivileged and don't have proper preventative health care, it's really going to cause a long-term problem. And we always got to try. I don't know how much impact we can have. A lot of the costs are set by the hospitals, the doctors, and the insurance companies. But definitely for people who don't have the resources, we have to have a good preventative care program.
But you're not talking about universal health care?
No,
you're not.
No.
Okay. The dark store issue, are you familiar with that? This is...
I am.
Have you heard about that? It's become a real big issue in the
You're
Capitol.
talking about through the appraisal process?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a certified border review for, the townships.
You're a member of the board of review for
right,
the town.
Absolutely. So I'm very well aware of it, and I personally find it silly that you can compare a working store that is making revenue to a empty store that has weeds growing in the parking lot. They're not the same. And I have heard through the Towns Association that they have had some issues where they've drastically lowered the appraisal. And that's hard on the township because that cost has to be spread over the rest of the residents. And if you have a store that's making money, and a lot of money, then they're sharing services, they need to share their profits to make the community go round.
So you would have supported one of those bills in the Capitol that would have said you could not base an assessment based on a so-called closed or dark store?
Oh, absolutely.
You could have.
Yeah.
There are how many Republican candidates in this primary, Mr. Schroeder? 4?
4, yeah.
And how do you differ from the others?
I would say in my local government experience, probably mainly been planning commissioner for more than 10 years. I helped create our plan I was on the township committee and Columbia County committee. And I also have been heavily involved in the, doing our roads. My knowledge of agriculture allows me to, I think, have a balance between the environmental issues and ag, which is our #1 industry.
Okay. And is there any other campaign issue that I haven't asked you about that you care, that's really central to your campaign?
You've hit just about every one, I think.
Okay. And if you're elected, the first bill that you'd introduce would be what? Have you given any thought to that?
Not really. I've just been kind of thinking about what my positions are, and I think mostly I'm just coming in with an open mind, learning, because I think the issues are ever changing. But definitely road infrastructure and education are, on the top of the list.
Now, we're about 7 years out from Act 10. Do you think those changes that largely did away with collective bargaining and made public employees pay more for pensions and health care. Were those wise policy changes, Mr. Schroeder?
I think that there needs to be a balance between the public employees and the rest of the employees. And from my vision or view, I think that they probably had a little better package. I don't know exactly what all the Act 10, the details of it, but I don't think most of the people in the private sector don't have that same luxury.
Okay. So you wouldn't want to go back to the collective bargaining system? So it seems to me you're saying that public employees are paying their fair share of pensions and health care. But what about the collective bargaining side?
I think they would have, I don't quite, understand exactly the nuances of the rules, but I think a union should have the right to bargain. And I guess if they belong to the same union and the same, I can't say I don't support it, but I don't understand that they don't have the right to do it.
Okay. Okay. Any other issues you want to bring up, sir?
Nope.
Okay. The primary in the 42nd Assembly District is May 15th. General election is June 12th. Darren Schroeder of Columbus is one of the Republican candidates in that May 15th primary. Mr. Schroeder, thanks for coming into Wisconsin Eye.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.